This is gonna be one, folks. This is gonna be one. So, we're talking Daredevil Born Again episode 7 today. What are we doing? What in God's creation are we doing? You have us wait 6 episodes till we get to the good stuff. You know, with the new showrunner or writer and all that stuff. So I've been hanging in there, waiting for that to happen. And to be fair, episode 6 came in, loved it. It was awesome. Felt like, alright, we're going to get a turn to the more Netflix-style Daredevil, the way he should be feeling. Awesome. We're off to the races now. Then we get episode 7. What was that? What was the point? What was the point of all this? This episode, well, I don't know if it was the worst episode of the season. I'm not sure I would say that. It definitely pissed me off the most. Even more so than stupid episode 5 with the freaking bank heist crap. Daredevil barely does anything in this episode. Matt barely does anything in this episode except get dressed down by everybody. And it's like, he goes from, in episode 6, still unsure if he wants to be Daredevil. And then, little Angela's threatened, and he hears about Muse, who's killed upwards of 60 people. And he decides, yeah, okay, I need to do something about this. Clearly no one else can. I need to get it done. Cool, I'm with you, Matt. But then, in episode 7, it's just like, he's right into it. He's like, yeah, no, they're not getting it done. I'm the only one who can do it. And it's kind of like, you're being a little aggressive right after this. It almost feels like the tone's a little, I would expect him to be a little bit more, because he's very aggressively about it, like talking with Sherry. Sherry comes in, he's all mad about it. And Matt's just like, no, I'm the one who did it. I got to get this done. You used to come to me for all this. I was like, Matt, calm down a minute. So that kind of was like, okay. I mean, I get it. There's a serial killer going off on the loose here. But, like, relax a little bit. Okay? Jesus, like, you're building up, you have 6 issues of him being this one way, and then it's like, in one episode, he's a complete, like, polar opposite. It's like, come on. Like, let's, maybe give it just a smidge more time. He just shouldn't be this aggressively wanting to go out there and, like, getting on everybody. It's like, Matt, you just waited for over a year. I mean, I get it, all that stuff pent up comes out, but it's like, it just felt so weirdly abrupt to me. So, before I go on too much on that, I'll give the episode breakdown, then I'll go a little bit more in depth to that. This episode's kind of simple. Not a lot happens. Basically, it starts off, we have Fisk talking with Bonk, who's his new bodyguard, who's basically Wesley too, and he's Wesley at home. He's not as good as Wesley. He's fun, he's kind of cool. He's talking about, he tells Fisk that Daredevil's back, and Fisk is obviously not happy about this. So then, they do the little credits montage, they come back to Angela in the hospital. Matt visits her and he's trying to talk to her and find out what she remembers about Muse and everything. Then we have the whole thing where he has that conversation with Sherry and they're, going back and forth a little bit. Well, that's going on. And Fisk is doing all that. He's doing his more mayoral stuff and he gets more agitated. He actually talks to Bonk about Daredevil. Reminiscing on seasons past, essentially, and all the stuff that Daredevil put him through. And basically, obviously, because he is the villain, and he thinks he's the good guy, he paints himself as the hero, and Daredevil is the bad guy. He's like, oh, he beat people, broke bones, and hurt spirits, and this, that, and the other. It's like, yeah, Fisk, this was one of the parts that I actually did like. Because, like, yeah, Fisk, you were freaking going around killing people half the time for no reason. Of course, Daredevil's going to show up someone's going to show up and try to stop you. That's the one thing I like, because it's like, yeah, obviously Fisk doesn't paint himself like the good guy. So that's one of the things that I did like. Well, that's going on. After Matt gets back from talking to Angela and seeing what's going on with her, he meets up with Heather at their place. They have a hot, steamy shower moment, which is like, alright, wow, this is twice, okay. Twice in the same show. We're allowed to have straight relationships again. Good job, Disney. I'll give you claps for that. But then immediately after that, she goes all therapist mode on him. And she's like, she's asking him about stuff like, why aren't you, you're always like cold, you kind of like standoffish, you don't really talk, you're disconnected, you're scatterbrained, you have all these bruises and stuff. And Matt plays it off as, I am blind. There are times where I'm going to run into things. And she goes, well, why lie about it? And he says, well, because it's kind of embarrassing. And it felt like a weirdly awkward conversation. I get it. It's kind of supposed to be, but it's just, because the whole time she's like, oh, you need to open up more and talk about your feelings and all this, that, and the other thing. He's like, and he says to her something like, it's just hard for me to talk about. And sometimes this whole life, with everything kind of feels fake. Not you, but the other stuff. And it felt very awkward and weird. I didn't like it. And it just felt like she was dressing him down. I was like, oh, Matt, you gotta do this. You're not doing this right. You gotta do this. I was like, stop it. God. So they go off, do their thing. We see more of Fisk. Oh, no. So we see more of Fisk. I think that's when they have that thing with Bonk. This episode really pissed me off, so my thoughts aren't kind of like in order as much, so I'm going to be a little bit more, out there than even I normally am. But, show Fisk talking with Bonk. Well, that's going on. I can never remember his name because I don't really care that much, to be completely honest with you guys. Vanessa has a secret meeting with the same other mob guy who's supposed to owe the money to the other one. He's the younger guy in the tracksuit who basically is he showed up the one episode to Fisk's office. He was very disrespectful. Can't remember his name. Don't really care to. He's talking with Vanessa, and he's basically trying to get Vanessa to, help him deal with Fisk. Because he's telling her things like, things were a lot better when you were around. It was a lot more fair, which is ironic, coming from, essentially, the mob guys and these gang lords and all that. That's fair is hysterical. And she's kind of just, playing it chill, whatever, she's trying to still, stay loyal to Fisk, but it seems like the wheels are turning a little bit. So, kind of the big portion of this episode happens very fast. This whole episode is boom, 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 boom. It's very fast paced. But it feels like not a lot happens. Because Matt does visit Angela again. And he then, at one point, goes to the crimes, Muse's hideout, where we found him. He fought Muse in episode 6. The anti-vigilante task force is there, head up by all the new corrupted cops and stuff. And they're, checking things out, trying to figure out what they can. They find all of Muse's paintings. Matt, after he had visited with Angela the second time, she tells him about all the stuff she remembered, the paintings and all that. So he goes there, as Daredevil. It's the first time we see him as Daredevil in the episode, halfway through. He's checking things out, feeling around, and this was another one the very small minor things I did kind of like. He sees all of Muse's paintings. He takes off his glove, and he starts feeling them. There's because of, obviously his blindness, just in general, blind people have more, their tactile senses are a lot more heightened than a normal person is. But then, obviously, Daredevil, even more so. So he can feel it on the paper. He can feel all these little different, slight changes and whatnot. He could feel the actual normal paint on there being changed. But a lot of how Muse did some of these paintings is, it almost, how do I describe it? It almost feels like he kind of almost sculpted more, he used a lot of extra paint. So the paint on there is a lot thicker than normal. There's actually raised bits, and the best way I could describe it is almost like he's trying to sculpt on the paper with paint. They did look pretty good. I'm a massive artist, a little bit kind of myself, so I did appreciate that. He finds one, and he rubs his hand all over it, and they kind of cut back to their earlier shower scene, or is either in the shower or when they're after the shower, because there's a moment where he puts his hand on her face. Feels very a la Daredevil 2003 with Ben Affleck, which was kind of an interesting throwback. But I mean, also, again, he is blind. A lot of times that is what they do. They kind of put their hand on your face to feel your features and whatnot, almost as their way of identifying you. So he feels the paper, and he starts feeling that it's Heather, because they cut back to him when he felt her earlier in the episode. And he's like, oh, Christ. And then right when he says that, the officer, was it Peralta or whatever, the guy who was framing Hector from earlier, the guy who's head of the task force, he sees him. Daredevil throws his billy club at him, knocks him out, and he gets the hell out of Dodge. So all the while this is going on, we see Heather at a therapy appointment with one of her clients. I believe it's the same guy that we saw in either episode 2 or 3. She was doing a book signing, and there was this kid who, gave her a book to sign and asked if, they could set up therapy together. So we see him again in this episode, and they're sitting there talking. She's talking to him about his life and how he hated his parents. They made him do like taekwondo and stuff when he just wanted to be an artist. And you're like, oh, it's Muse. This guy's Muse. Or initially, I remember a lot of people thinking that the kid who talked to Heather was going to get killed by Muse. No, he is Muse. So that happens, and the more they're talking, obviously, you as the audience realize it, and then Heather even realizes it. I think at one point he even says that it was him. Then she goes ready to. They have that kind of like, it feels like a classic like horror movie kind of trope or whatever. And because he's talking to her, and he goes, and I kind of like know what you're thinking, Dr. Glenn. You're going, oh, this is crazy, this, that, and the other thing. And I know you're also thinking, how can I get to the door before he gets to me? And right after that, she goes up to run for the door. He gets up, grabs her, and cuts to the whole thing with like Daredevil finding Muse's hideout. So we go after that bit. We go back to Heather and Muse. And at this point, Muse is in full costume. He's got a gun, we hadn't seen him with a gun yet, up to his head. And this is where things start to deviate, and this is where I really got freaking mad. They're having this thing talking. She keeps calling him by his actual name, which, again, couldn't be bothered him. Did not really care that much. And he goes, no, my name's Muse. It's Muse. He grabs her arm and he writes Muse and marker on it, which is like, okay. And he's at least, like, I think I mentioned this before in my last review. It was like, I didn't like that Muse didn't really talk much. Now we get him to talk a lot in this episode, so alright, cool. At least they're doing that. So he's there. He ends up pulling out a knife at one point. He cuts her open. He starts like getting the thing set up so he can drain her blood and all that. Then he has the gun because the task force shows up. They had gotten a hold of Fisk, told him what was going on, told him they know where they were going. And Fisk, obviously being that she was his therapist, he's like, oh no, you got to go take care of that. So they show up. They're storming the place. Muse finds out. Then he starts to get all panicked and he starts freaking out a little bit. He gets ready to. He puts the gun on Heather. He gets ready to pull the trigger. In comes Daredevil. They have a solid fight. They're going on. They basically they're trying to do this bit of tension where Muse and Daredevil are fighting, and the anti-vigilante task force, they're trying to come up, get up to where they're at, and Daredevil's trying to fight him off before the cops get up there, and they're gonna want him as well. So they're trying to do all this tension bit, and then. Because during the scuffle between Muse and Daredevil, Muse loses his gun. Heather picks up the gun and shoots Muse like 7 times and kills him. What are we doing? The whole reason Daredevil came back was to deal with Muse, and we get him for 2 episodes, and they just kill him. Just that. Daredevil's not even the one who kills him. He fights him. He doesn't even stop the villain. It's Heather who kills him. What's the problem that Daredevil's solving now? The crooked cops? Because he's not going to have another fist fight with Kingpin. He's the mayor. How's that going to work? This was so incredibly stupid in the fact that, of course, can't have the man save the woman. She had to save herself. Daredevil didn't do anything. Yeah, I mean, granted, you could say, oh, well, had Daredevil intervened, Heather would be dead. Yeah, but he still didn't stop the villain in his own show. We had Muse for 2 episodes and a couple bits here and there and some of the other ones. This is what they were leading up to? He just gets shot by Daredevil's girlfriend? And then Heather kind of, because he cut her arm open, she starts to lose a lot of blood. She falls unconscious. Matt rushes over to her, kind of revives her. He stabilizes her wound, and he gets out of there right as the cops show up. So they take care of him, take care of her, get her to the hospital. And they report back to Fisk, tell him that, yeah, Daredevil was there, all this happened. And Fisk's like, no, I'm running on this anti-vigilante policy. This would hurt that. Daredevil didn't stop him. You guys did. And he even holds a press conference saying that, oh, Daredevil, he didn't even mention Daredevil. Like, oh, the brave, cops of this task force, they're the one who stopped Muse. We don't need these vigilantes, all that other thing. We even have his, kiss-ass Daniel, that annoying guy. He talks to BB after this and tries to get her to be like, hey, you owe me for screwing me over with the whole garbage thing earlier, like a couple episodes earlier. You need to make sure it gets out to the people you follow. This wasn't Daredevil. This was the what are they calling it? The AVTF or whatever. And she goes, yeah, but that's complete bullcrap. He goes, yeah, well, you're gonna do this anyway because basically if you don't, I'll make your life a living hell. And she goes, are you threatening me? He goes, no, I'm trying to make sure you understand how much your life's gonna suck if you don't do this. And how great it could be if you do. And I really don't want to make it suck for you. Basically, you start to see him try to act like Fisk, and it's just like, dude, no one takes you seriously. You're just a sycophant. You just want to impress him so much. It's like, I get it, what they're doing, but it's really, this guy, I'm pretty sure he couldn't punch his way out of a wet paper bag. He's not intimidating in the slightest. Even if he had a gun pointed to my head, I probably still wouldn't be intimidated. So after that, we see Matt, talking to Heather in the hospital. He's there trying to comfort her. And she said something to him basically like, I think he was there and I think he said my name. And Matt's like, who? And he goes, Daredevil. Oh, so I'm assuming they're going to try and play that maybe she might start putting, 2 and 2 together that Matt is Daredevil. And that's basically where it ends. I kind of checked out after this because they show Fisk on the TV talking about the whole anti-vigilante thing, and Matt hears it, but I don't care. I genuinely don't care. This episode, I was so on board after episode 6. This episode just killed that all for me. I don't care. I'm so annoyed. I was defending this show. I was like, you know what? The first handful of episodes, yeah, they're not the greatest. I love Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio as their characters, so I still really enjoyed some things about it. I get it. Not a lot of people do. Your complaints are valid. Just hang on. Just wait. We get to the good episode, and then we get this crap. So Daredevil's just here. What's he going to go do now? Stopping petty theft? Stopping jaywalkers? It's stupid. And I've seen so many people, they're giving their theories, because, that's what we fans, what we nerds do. Some people are thinking that Muse is going to get resurrected somehow, and he's going to have his powers like he had in the comics. Because in the comics, if you don't know, excuse me, Muse had this, ability to kind of, I can't remember how the actual wording for it, but he could basically, absorb all of, his, sounds and whatnot. So basically, it would turn off Daredevil's sonar. Daredevil couldn't, pinpoint where Muse was. Because he couldn't hear, his heartbeat and things like that. He couldn't, smell him or anything. Muse had the ability to basically turn all that off. And in the comics, the way Daredevil deals with this is he realizes, okay, well, I can't find any spots where these things are, so why don't I start looking for the spots where these things aren't? Almost like a black hole kind of thing. And when he starts seeing, the spot where all the gap, he's like, all right, that's Muse. Which was cool. I like that in the comic. So maybe, a lot of people are just like, so maybe they're killing him off so they can resurrect him and do that. And I'm like, oh yeah, that'll go over well. Because no one can stay dead. People complain about that in the comics. Now we're doing it in the shows. Yay. And so I've heard some people say maybe, he's not the real Muse and there's another Muse out there and it's kind of just, or someone might be inspired by his Muse who has the powers, whatever, want to do it. Sure, maybe it was still handled dumb. I don't like it. And we have 2 episodes left. One tomorrow and then one next week. Now, we have to establish another, you can't just leave Daredevil. We're just going to have Daredevil fight the AVTF, the Anti-Vigilante Task Force. That's it? Just a bunch of crooked cops? Okay. Sure. I guess. That's it? And the thing is, we barely know much about these characters as is. We know about the one guy, Peralta, or whatever his name was, from the first. We know a little bit about him, that he's basically just an asshole. We don't like him. There's another cop that we learned he's basically just kind of a good dude who just, went a little bit over the line. That's all we know about him. He's there. Cool. There's no... Alright. Most of them are just nameless people there. So there's no connection or anything with it. They haven't done enough with that. But also, we've seen images of Daredevil with the Punisher from this season. We have 2 episodes left. So we got 2 episodes to get that established. What's going on with Daredevil and Punisher? I'm wondering if they're going to do, because there's this comic story where, and I think it's more recent, where Daredevil gets saved by Punisher. He's basically, he's got the bottoms of the suit on, he's his shirt off in his mask, and he's all taped up and, bandaged and stuff, because I guess he got into a fight or something, and Punisher saves him. Maybe they're going to be trying to reference that. I don't know. But it's so they got to set that up. And another character we know is going to be in this season that we haven't seen much of since episode 1 is Bullseye. We haven't heard hide nor hair of Bullseye in 6 episodes? Where's he at? We know he's in jail. We've seen him in episode 1. And then he was mentioned in episode 4. And we've seen shots of Bullseye with a bloody smile where he's missing a tooth, referencing the comics where he escaped prison, basically using his tooth as a projectile. So we know that's coming. That's going to be in these 2 episodes. So that's just going to come out of nowhere. This is just a mess. Because what you should have been doing is maybe, instead of just, being so freaking choppy and just focusing on Matt and Fisk, do a little couple scenes here and there throughout this couple episodes, showing these cops a little bit more, these crooked cops, and showing there's maybe a scene here and there of Bullseye in prison. We see where he's at, what he's been going through in prison, and starting to, think his way out, come up with his plan to escape. Just a couple doesn't need to be anything major, just a scene or two, sporadically throughout these episodes, so people didn't forget about him, so he doesn't just show up in episode 8 and 9, or whichever, and just out of nowhere. I don't know. Because now, and then also people now are like, oh, well, it was the first 7 that were the issue. The last 2 episodes, everything's gone out that was left over, excuse me, from the original version of the show. And now the last 2 episodes are the ones that it's none of that extra crap, and it's all new stuff. It goes, yeah, it's gonna feel it. This show has been it's been like an EKG. It's been up and down and up and down. And it's just, give me some consistency, man. This is terrible. They should have just overhauled it all and started from scratch, because this is just bad at this point. I was so excited for season 2 after watching episode 6. They showed off we found all these, leaked set video and set photos from season 2 of Daredevil in the black suit with the double D's, referencing the Shadowland costume. And it looks cool, and I was so excited. Now, after this episode, I'm just really? This is what we built up to? The main reason Daredevil came back is taken care of in 2 episodes? Muse is such a cool character. That'd be like doing a season of Batman and having the joke build up the whole season to the Joker. We get him 2 episodes and he dies. I don't know. So I definitely did not like this episode. Maybe I'm being overly critical, which is possible. But I'm just maybe a 4 out of 10, if that. This one really got me, guys. This one really upset me, really made me mad. Because I was, if you watch those early reviews, man, just hang in there, hold on, they say it's going to be good, I'm going to trust them, and this is what I got. So, I don't know, maybe episodes 8 and 9 are, insanely good, maybe they are just all-out bangers, I don't know, but they gotta tighten up, man. I don't know, these last 2 episodes are going to make or break whether I even watch season 2 now. But either way, the show's not popping on ratings or anything, so they're in bad shape anyway, so who knows. But yeah, I really don't have much else to say. I know this was kind of a weird one, because I was very just negative and kind of unenthused throughout the whole thing. But that's it. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. That's just how I feel about this episode right now. But yeah, that's going to be all for me. I hope you guys have a better day than I did watching this. And yeah, if you liked the video, give me a like, give me a comment, tell me if you guys watched the episode, what you thought. And yeah, I will be back. I think I have another comic review coming out this week, and then I will obviously, hopefully on time, because I wasn't able to upload this on Sunday like I normally do because I had work stuff. Hopefully next Sunday it'll be normal again, and I'll be able to review episode 8, and hopefully it'll be a lot better than this pile of crap. But that's going to be all for me. I hope you guys had a great day. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace and love, everybody.